Hello, everyone. We're going to go to this chapter 15 regarding the monopoly. And since we did cover perfectly competitive market structure in chapter 14, that kind of lay out the foundation for discussion of monopoly market where there is only one seller instead of numerous sellers. Okay. Monopoly. Okay. If you recall, let me just draw your graph here, make it easier to understand. If you recall, we had our model here, supply and demand model, or price on vertical, quantity on horizontal. And competitive market sellers or producers, or whatever you want to call them, all facing one price. We already established that. And then anybody can come in. There is free entry or exit. They can enter if they can survive with this price here. Okay. And in the long run, the profit was zero. And the price they're facing was their marginal revenue. Okay. And how many they produce, where was marginal cost equal to marginal revenue. Okay. We have already established that one. Now, market power, or why monopolies rise, alters the relationship between a firm's cost and selling price. Okay, again, they're not price taker. Monopolies are the one that price maker. But how many products they got to produce to maximize their profit while facing the demand curve, which is downward sloping. Monopoly charges a price that exceeds marginal cost because the only players in town. A high price reduces the quantity purchased, and the outcome often not the best for society. Okay, we're going to talk about all these here. If you recall, in chapter 1, we learned one of those 10 principles that government can sometimes improve market outcome. In this case, in monopoly case, government sometimes give incentive to a seller to be the only seller in the market for one reason or another. Okay, if you're a pharmaceutical, you do research, you spend a lot of money, do research, finally find a medicine to cure AIDS or hepatitis B or anything else, then government give you the patent right that nobody else can copy your medicine for maybe 20 years or so. Okay, and you be the only seller of that product. That's why those products are very expensive when they come to the market in the beginning. And after so many years, then you can have anybody can copy that and selling it, and the price goes lower. Then we're going to talk about how government can do that. Monopoly firm that is the sole seller of that product. And usually those products don't have no close substitutes, like tap water, electricity, or, internet. Imagine just AT&T owns all those towers and all that. They could charge anything they want. And another characteristic of monopoly is barrier to entry. Which means it's hard to get in. Okay, that we're going to talk about the reason why. Barriers to entry: a monopoly remains the only seller in the market because other firms cannot enter the market and compete with them. Monopoly because of these three reasons: monopoly resources, government regulation, and production process. Okay, these cases create monopoly. Monopoly resources. Imagine there is one person just own all the diamond mining in South Africa. Actually, there is the guy out there just own all of them. And then he's the one who can set the price that he desires. A key resource required for production is owned by a single firm or person. Okay, therefore we can create a higher price than if it was competitive market structure. Here it says, okay, rather than a monopoly, we like to be consider ourselves the only game in town. Pretty much the same thing. About government regulation. Okay, government give a single firm the exclusive right to produce some good or services. Okay, and government can create monopolies like patent and copyright. Then it would be higher prices and higher profit for that firm. Okay, let's say you're an author, you wrote a book, you're famous, and the publisher give you $1 million to publish all the books that he wants to. He's the only one publish your book, you got the copyright, then he can price it anything he wants to. And nobody else can copy it for so many years. Okay? That's why the government do that, because you got to give incentive for entrepreneurs or scientists to create new stuff, new things in the market. And sometimes they spend a lot of money, they cost them a lot of money to research, to do lab work and all that. They come up with empty-handed. And, but if they do, that's how the capitalism works. If they do, they come up with something that really people wanted, then they hit the jackpot. They have the copyright, they have the patent, and nobody can copy it for 20 years. And that price, they can make a lot of profit. That's the intention of the government regulation. About natural monopoly. Natural monopoly is when the production of a good, it takes so much money to start it. Okay, fixed cost. Remember the sunk cost is so big that when one rich people started doing it and selling it, and nobody can come in. It's very hard to get in because not too many people had that many money or capital to invest. Okay, a single firm can supply a good services to an entire market at a smaller cost than could two or more firms can do. Okay, because of the average total cost. Say this is the cost going here, and the more you produce, your cost going to be lower. Your price going to be lower and lower and lower and lower. Okay, let's say you are here, you're making million of this product and selling it so cheap because your cost cheap. If somebody's come in, they got to start it with higher price. They can't compete. Okay, always is one firm does all these. Let's say one firm do all the line, electricity in the town, and so on. They provided electricity to everyone else, right? If someone else wanted to start doing the same thing, they got to carry a lot of cost with it to start with. Then that's the natural monopoly. Okay, economy of scales, we call it. Okay, total average cost is decreasing because of the economies of scale. That causes the natural monopoly. When the firm average total cost curve continually declines, okay, continually goes down as you produce more. the firm has what is called a natural monopoly. In this case, when production is divided among more firms, each firm produces less, and average total cost rises for them. As a result, a single firm can produce any given amount at the lowest cost. Then it's hard to compete with. Monopoly, okay, then we establish that, which is price takers, right? And it shows here that monopoly is facing a downward sloping demand curve. Let's say if they produce in this many, Q1 is the only seller in the market, and charging P1, if he want to make more money, he can raise the price. Okay, but remember, because they're facing this downward sloping demand curve, people are going to buy less of it. Is that bring us this quantity can maximize his profit or not? Then we're going to see where he can does that. We know that monopolist or competitive firm in a competitive market, they can maximize their profit where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Always. Remember that. Okay. But in case of monopoly, in case of competitive market, marginal revenue is always equal to price. They can't change the price of that product that they're making. Gasoline, okay? If gasoline is $3 for everybody selling it, 7-Eleven is going to charge $5. Nobody going to go there. They have to produce this, and whatever they produce, okay, that's going to be the price. That's going to be the price. But in competitive market, the price don't have to be marginal revenue. It might be different. Let's look at it in next slide here. And monopoly, now we know about total revenue. Total revenue is equal to how many quantities you sold multiplied by price. Let's say you produce 1,000 quantity of a bottle of water and sold it $1 each, then you made $1,000, which is total revenue. How about if you have total revenue, you want to find your average revenue? You just divide this 1,000 by 1,000 unit, then you become with $1, which is average revenue. Okay. Next slide here. Average revenue, I don't think I did AR, I did probably MR, is always equal to price for competitive market or monopolies and so. But how about marginal revenue? Marginal revenue, we know about marginal, right? Extra revenue per each extra additional unit of output that bring money in. Changes in the total revenue when output increases by 1 unit. We call that marginal. In case of competitive market, marginal revenue was equal to marginal cost, and they both were equal to price because price was given. But here in this case, monopoly can charge a price more than his marginal revenue. How that going to be happen? We're going to see it. Well, because they they facing downward sloping demand curve. To increase the amount sold, the monopoly firm must lower the price. It changes to all customers and can be negative. Let's look at this table here. Let me just erase it first. If you let me. Okay. Or maybe not. Maybe you won't let me. Okay. Anything. Let's say if we have these two columns, price against quantity, we can draw the demand curve, right? Price on vertical and quantity on horizontal. If price is 11, nobody buying it. Okay, 0 gallon of water. Okay, if the price come to 10, okay, 1 unit was produced and sold. If the price goes lower, that's the law of demand. Remember, other things stay the same. The price and quantity go in the opposite direction. If we get all this point together, we come up with this demand curve. All right, that's what this table shows. And column 3, if you want to calculate total revenue, you multiply column 1 by column 2, price multiplied by quantity, average revenue divide column 3 by quantity, which is column 1. Now about column 5, we just did it in previous chapter here. If we increase the product from 2 to 3, okay, how much extra revenue did we make? We went from 18 to 24, right? We jumped about $6. Okay, that's the marginal. Extra units sold, how much extra money or revenue brought in? That's the marginal. Increase in quantity sold, we call that output effect. Let's just draw it here again. Okay, quantity is here, price is here, and that's the demand curve we're facing. Okay, when we increase the quantity, well, let's say here we lower the price, we increase the quantity, then we make more revenue, okay, because we sold more, but at the same time we made less because the price went lower. Price effect versus quantity effect. Price is lower, decrease the total revenue. On output effect, Q is higher and increase the total revenue. Because the marginal revenue is less than the price. Marginal revenue curve is below the demand curve. As we saw it, the marginal revenue on that table, a slide before, it was decreasing. Okay. Now here, our demand curve is the blue one. And marginal revenue is the red one. Okay. The demand curve shows how the quantity sold affects the price of good. If the price goes lower, okay, the quantity demand on the blue goes higher. How about the marginal revenue? Shows how the firm revenue changes when the quantity increases by 1 unit. Because the price of all units sold must fall in the monopoly case to increase the production, marginal revenue is less than the price. Well, let's say here in 3 unit that was sold for $8. We get that from that table on previous slides. The marginal revenue is here, which is less than the price. In the monopoly case, marginal revenue is less than the price that he gets from the customer. Because the price on all units sold must fall if the monopoly increased production. Okay, therefore, marginal revenue is less than the price. In each case, the price is here. It could be negative. Remember, it says on the table, the price is here. The marginal revenue could be negative. All right. We're going to use this later to figure out how many units he has to produce to maximize his profit. If marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, you increase the production. We can establish this in a competitive case. If the marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue, we produce less. To maximize profit, in either case, monopoly or competitive, marginal revenue must be equal to marginal cost. Visually, that's the intersection of the marginal revenue curve and the marginal cost curve. Price, on the other hand, we get it from demand curve. It's going to be higher than marginal revenue. Let's look at it here. The blue is our demand curve. Okay. The marginal revenue is this red here. This is a demand curve that monopoly is facing in the market. And marginal cost, let's assume, is this curve here, the red curve here. Okay. Where the two intersect, right here, the marginal revenue intersect the marginal cost. We know that this is the point that maximize firm's profit. But monopoly doesn't sell for this price, which was competitive market. He's selling it for this price because he's the only one making the price. He can make that price. If he does that, then his profit, he's going to make profit. Remember, in perfectly a competitive market, the profit was 0, but now he's making this much profit. Okay. Let's just look at it again. Again, where the firm maximized her profit, where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. For competitive market, marginal revenue is equal to the price. But for monopoly, as we see it here, is greater than marginal revenue. That's the difference here. But still, marginal revenue Oops, hold on. Marginal revenue must be equal to marginal cost. This is visually expression of profit maximization of monopoly. There's not, much math or geometry involved. You can visually see it, that he charges more than what it cost him. Okay, that's his profit. Okay, average total cost. Cost him this much per unit, but he make this much per unit, then this is going to be total profit. Okay, that's how much he makes, total revenue minus total cost here. Then she end up with this blank area here, profit. Let's go to the next. In profit maximization, in perfect competition, if you recall, let me just color it here. In both of them, we maximize the profit when marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. But for perfect competition, marginal revenue also is equal to price. But monopoly can charge whatever it desired. Versus perfect competition firm, he has to take the price. Monopoly can make the price. He can make the price larger than his marginal revenue. But again, we make quantity that it equate the marginal revenue with marginal cost, but the price would be higher. Here in monopoly's profit, which is profit is total revenue minus total cost. What is total revenue? Price multiplied by quantity, how many produced and sold. Okay, minus average total cost, how much each unit costs the monopolist. Okay, average total cost multiplied by quantity. And if you factor off Q here, then you come up with this formula. Again, we're not going to use a lot of equation or math here, but you're going to get probably visually expressions of the question in your quiz. Then you multiple choice, true, false. You can pick what the answer is going to be. I don't want you, you're not in there to start from scratch to figure it out, right? Most everything is done for you. Let's look at here graphically. As you see here at this point, marginal revenue, let's assume this curve is marginal revenue. Marginal cost. The marginal revenue is this curve here. Okay, and they two intersect at this point here. That's how many goods that monopolist has to produce to maximize his profit. But how much is charged, that's how much people are willing to pay for this product. Not this much, which was competition before, competitive market before. But now he can charge more because this many people are willing to pay for it. And this is his average cost per unit. That's how much you get for it. That's the total revenue here, and how much it cost him, which is this blank area, and minus the total revenue, you come up with this shaded area, yellow shaded area, which is monopoly's profit. Okay, or we call it the area of the box, B, C, D, E. Okay. The height of the box, BC, is the price minus average total cost per unit, which equals profit per unit, multiplied by quantity, and that's how much sold, that's how much the profit he makes. Again, you're going to see all this visually. Nothing math involved in here. All right, let's go ahead to the next slide. Let's look at this monopoly for pharmaceutical. Monopoly's drug, when he create it, when he make it, nobody else has it. He has a patent for it. Then after 20 years or so, anybody can copy it. Actually, it's the same drugs. We call it generic drugs. It's a new drug, is it patented by law. Government try to help him out, make as much as they want to. Not they want to, you know, max it out, their profit. And we know how monopoly produces Q amount where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. That's where they, you know, maximize their profit. That's how we saw it in previous slide. And the price they're going to charge is going to be more than their marginal cost. Generic price drug, which is in competitive market, after 20 years, let's assume that everybody can copy that drug. What happened? They're going to produce it too. They're going to bring more into the market. Each firm is going to make it, and they're going to minimize their cost or maximize their profit, where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. But we know in competitive market, price is going to be equal to marginal revenue or marginal cost, and we're going to see graphically what happened. That's what's going to happen. That was when monopolist quantity was here, and they were pricing that new drug here after the patented law expire, and anybody can produce to come in. They come bring it in. This is going to be the marginal. That is the price where the marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. And this is going to be marginal revenue, marginal cost here, and we're going to have more of that drugs and cheaper. Okay, that's one example. When the patent gives a firm a monopoly over the sale of a drug, the firm charges the monopoly price and make more profit, well above their marginal cost. When the patent expires and new firms come in, they can enter now, which means they can copy it. Okay. As a result, the price is going to be falling and quantity be more available in the market. Let's do the next one. What is the price discrimination? What do we mean by that? Monopoly can discriminate his consumers in different prices. It's a business practice that sell the same good at different prices. How they can do that? Okay, well, you probably experienced that in your life. Let's say moviegoers, okay, matinee price, which is a lot less than the normal timing. If you go after 12 midnight, I remember I used to go late at night to the movie because it was cheaper when we were a student. Or you go early morning these days, you pay $5. But if you go 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, you got to pay the prime. Those people want to pay that much, they are willing to pay, they do it. And those who doesn't want to do it, they say the monopolists take advantage of those people that they're not willing that much, but they're willing to buy it in lower price. They can discriminate for their consumers. Let's look at some example here. Perfect price discrimination is when monopolies charge each customer a different price, exactly what he is or her willing to pay for it. Okay, that way, Monopoly firm gets the entire surplus. It maximizes the whole profit. Okay, no deadweight loss. We didn't talk about deadweight loss and consumer producer surpluses. Maybe we get to it later, if we get time. But what it means here, since monopoly is facing this downward sloping curve, okay, and his marginal revenue is like this, his marginal cost, let's assume, is like that. That's, if we make this many quantity, he maximizes profit, charging this much. Okay. How about if just charges this guy that much, that percent that much, then he can make more. He increases quantity and he can make this much profit all the way, increases profit. Okay, let's look at some example here. Without the price discrimination, single price, we know that it is above marginal revenue, right? Here, marginal revenue, marginal cost, which is maximize the profit. Without price discrimination, the price is higher than here. Okay, we know that, right? And consumer surplus, producer surplus, which is profit, and deadweight loss. Let's just disregard that here. Let's go to the next one here in this slide. If he can take advantage of all these customers that they're willing to pay more than what he was charging. See, in this panel A, to maximize his profit, he was producing this many quantity and charging this much, and that was his profit. And we know the point on demand curve, each one shows the marginal buyers willing to pay for this product. If he can set up a model that can charge these guys whatever they're willing to pay for it, and this guy willing to pay less, this guy willing to pay less, and he can add up to more profit. Okay, remember, up to here, this guy is not willing to pay that price, and they leave the market. But if he can take advantage of those, they can increase his profit. In this panel, monopoly charges the same price for all the customers, but in panel B, monopoly that can perfectly do price discrimination, which means he be able to charge anybody that willing to pay that price, find them and give it to them, charge them that much, and he's going to increase the profit. Let's go to the next. He'll give some example here. Movie ticket is an example. Lower the price for children and senior citizen, or airline tickets is another one. Okay, lower price for round trip, Saturday night if you stay. He knows those people going for vacation. It doesn't matter if they stay weekend or not. If the price is right, they buy it. But business people that they travel, overnight or so during the weekdays, and they charge them more. They know they're willing to pay more, right? How about discount coupon? Not all the customers are willing to spend time and sit down and cut the coupon and all that, and they go pay the amount at the price that Monopoly is asking for. Then he issued coupon also for those who are not willing that much, but they have the time to go cut the coupon and all that, go take advantage of the lower price. How about financial aid? Okay, you put the higher education, higher tuition for those, they pay for it. They don't care, whatever they can afford it. Also, he issue financial aid for those who cannot afford it, but if the price goes any lower, they in too. They take advantage of all those people Remember, they're facing this downward sloping demand. They want to take advantage of all of them. Okay, all of them in. They make more money. How about quantity discount? Okay, if you buy one unit, is this much. If you buy 12 of them, they give you a discount. Okay, it pays a higher price for the first unit, but the last unit would be cheaper. Let's go to the next. How about for government policy, public policy toward monopolies? Increasing competition with antitrust law. Okay, government don't want the monopoly in certain product take over and charge high price, and it be disadvantage for people that couldn't afford it. And some items are vital for our survival, like water these days, internet is important, electricity is important. Like water could be, in hands of one person to do, or electricity. The city usually take advantage of it, and we call it public good. And if those companies come merge together to make it one big giant firm, the big one comes and buy those little ones, like it happens all the time. AT&T might buy Time Warner or the smaller guys and be only one giant one, or one of the giant ones providing internet. Then we have this law and regulation and act that prohibit that, like Sherman Antitrust Act 1890, Clayton Antitrust Act 1940. It prevents mergers, break up companies. They don't want to be giant. Prevent companies from coordinating their activities to make market less competitive. Okay. Like here, it's these two entrepreneurs are talking here quietly. If they don't want us to merge, and be one, how about we do amalgamate it? We will have enough resources to fight the antitrust violation caused by the merger. All right, well, I guess there's just maybe a couple more left. Yeah. Regulation. Regulate the behavior of our monopolies, which is the price. Is very common in case of natural monopolies. Marginal cost pricing may be less than average total cost. No incentive to reduce cost. Okay. For example, I think we got it here. Let me show it here. If the government comes say to monopolists, you can't charge more than this price here, but monopolist minimum cost is here. Okay. And remember, he could charge anything right here maybe. Okay, that's a demand curve. He could charge it when the government intervenes and says, well, this is the water or this is electricity. You can't charge more than this amount. Well, it could have some negative effect. Then they must shut down because they might not survive with this price here. Okay, they might not just engage in producing any. Right, that's one of the marginal cost pricing for a natural monopoly, because a natural monopoly has declining average total cost. The marginal cost is always less than average total cost. Therefore, if regulators require a natural monopoly to charge a price equal to marginal cost, the price will be below the average total cost. A monopoly will lose money and they're not going to survive. Okay, that's why the regulator got to be careful where they going to set up their price for monopolies. How about public ownership? How the ownership of the firm affects the cost of production? Okay, private owners' incentive is to maximize the profit or minimize the cost. public owners, which is the government or city, come take over some, water or electricity or sewage in our city. If it does a bad job, losers are the customers and taxpayers. Okay, then they're not as lean and mean as those entrepreneur or private sectors. That's the drawback of too much regulation here. How about do nothing for natural monopoly? Some economists argue that it is often the best for government not to intervene, not to do anything. Okay, because inefficiency of the monopoly is better than when public take over that goods. It's going to be less harmful. Determining the proper role of government in the economy requires judgment about politics as well as economics. And this is the last one here, kind of give you the summary of what we did here. Again, you're comparing these two market, competitive versus monopoly. Then we're going to talk about monopolistic competitive or oligopoly in coming chapter, kind of in between this. And here, if competition or competitive market want to maximize the profit, MR equal to MC, marginal revenue, marginal cost, so does the monopoly, okay, the goal of the firm. And that's the rule of the maximizing profit. It can earn economic profit in the short run. Yeah, they both can, right? In the short run, but not in the long run. For monopoly, it was zero, remember? Okay. The difference is number of the firms are many in competitive. Here is only one. Marginal revenue is equal to price. Here, price is more than marginal revenue. Okay. Here, price is marginal cost. Here, price is more than marginal cost. And just go over this and just give you a summary of what we did here. We're going to put the quiz up for you, and just watch for email announcement. And I'm going to post stuff on discussion board from now on. Make sure you check your discussion board. Again, we just gotta get at least you need to show up once a week. I can see when you log in and did some work, and TCC is kind of watch for those that missing, not checking in more than a week or so, and you might get an email that remind you, just be on time. All right, so long, see y'all later.